Digital transformation, it's this phrase that keeps leaders up at night, right? But why is it so hard? And what's the real secret to actually pulling it off? So let's get into it, because the answer, well, it's probably not what you're expecting. Okay, let's just get one thing straight right from the get-go. This is not easy. I mean, we're talking about a complete overhaul of how a company works, how it thinks, how it even competes in the market. It's this massive, complex process. And frankly, it's where a lot of good intentions just fizzle out. But man, the rewards, if you do get it right, they're just as massive. So let's look at an example. Take the IT services company Atos. Way back in 2008, they saw the writing on the wall. They had to transform. And over the next decade, they didn't just squeak by. They absolutely thrived. Their annual revenue shot up from about $6 billion to almost $13 billion. So the point here is, this isn't just some corporate buzzword. It's a real strategic move with, enormous potential. So the big question is, how on earth did Atos do it? Well, it wasn't just about throwing money at new software or hiring a few tech whizzes. Nope. Their biggest hurdle, and also their biggest win, was transforming their entire workforce. We're talking about 100,000 people. And their approach was, honestly, fascinating. See, instead of some top-down mandate, they made their upskilling program voluntary. They started with the goal of training 35,000 employees, but here's the clever part. They used smart incentives to make people actually want to learn. They got it. They understood that for this kind of change to really stick, people have to buy in and internalize these new skills, not just be forced to sit through a training. And the result? Well, they absolutely crushed their goal, certifying over 70,000 people. Just incredible. And this story, it just perfectly sets up the core idea we're talking about today. Yeah, learning the new tech skills, that's essential, for sure. But, and this is a big but, it's not enough. To really truly succeed, you've got to build something way deeper. And that something is what we call a digital mindset. It's not just about what you know, it's about your whole attitude. It's a way of thinking that lets you and your organization see all the new possibilities that data, AI, and all this tech opens up. That's the real engine behind innovation. Here's a simple way to think about it. The technical skills, that's the what. It's knowing how to use the tools. But the digital mindset, that's the how and the why. It's the motivation, the creativity to actually use those tools in brand new ways. Look, you absolutely need the skills, but it's the mindset that really unlocks their true potential. Okay, so how in the world do you build this mindset across a whole company? Well, it really boils down to two huge areas. First, you've got to win over your people, and second, you have to get your systems aligned. Let's tackle the people part first. All right, check this out. This is the adoption matrix, and it's a super useful tool for any manager trying to navigate this stuff. It basically plots your team on two axes: how much they buy into the change and how confident they feel about learning the new stuff. So let's break down what these four boxes really mean. So the top right, this is your goal. This is the inspired quadrant. These folks are your champions. They're all in on the mission, and they're confident they can get it done. Your job? Just empower them and get out of their way. Okay, now we have the frustrated group. These people, they believe in the why, they get it, but they're just not sure they can do it. They lack confidence. So for them, you need to be a coach. You got to build them up with support and the right kind of training. Next up, the indifferent folks. They know they can learn the new stuff. They're confident enough. They just don't see why they should. They haven't bought in. So with this group, your job is to be a salesperson. You have to sell them on the why and connect it to what matters to them. And finally, we have the oppressed quadrant. These are the people who lack both the confidence and the buy-in. This is, your toughest crowd. You've got to tackle this from two angles. Help them build basic skills to get some small wins under their belt, and at the same time, keep selling them on that big picture vision. So the goal is to move everyone towards that inspired box, right? How do you do it? Well, you need a really thoughtful program. It's got to start with a big goal for the whole company, so no one feels left out. You design the learning so it works for everybody, no matter their role. Then you use virtual delivery so you can scale it up. And you've got to motivate people. Think awards, incentives, recognition.
And, this is critical, you have to make sure managers are equipped to guide and inspire their teams. And finally, get people doing stuff. Encourage them to participate in hands-on projects.
Okay, so you're working on getting your people on board. Awesome. But that's only half the story. You also have to make sure the company's actual systems and processes are set up to support this new mindset, not, work against it.
I love this quote from Moderna's CEO. It is so powerful. It just perfectly captures what it looks like when a company is literally built from the ground up with a digital mindset. They don't think of themselves as a biology company that happens to use tech. No. They see themselves as a tech company that happens to do biology. That's a huge difference.
And here's how they make that happen. Sure, they have tons of data, they use cloud computing, they build AI algorithms, all the buzzwords. But the real key, the secret sauce, is that everything is fully integrated. Data just flows where it needs to go so teams can collaborate instantly. It's not about having the individual pieces of tech, it's about how they all connect and work together. That's what really matters.
And this next quote, man, it just says it all, right? You can't just, put a fancy digital app on top of a terrible, clunky old process. All you'll get is a fancy, terrible, clunky digital process. Digitization just amplifies whatever you already have, the good and the bad.
And listen, this isn't just for shiny new companies like Moderna that were born digital. Take a legacy giant like Unilever. How did they adapt their huge, sprawling global business? They created 300 small 10-person agile teams. They used tech to connect what was happening on the ground locally with their global strategy. They actually redesigned their old processes to fit the new tools. And here's that theme again. They made sure their people had both the skills and the motivation to make it all work. Okay, so this all leads to a really profound final shift in how we need to think about all of this. We're so used to talking about change management like it's a project. It has a start date, a middle part, and then an end date. But that whole way of thinking, it's broken. Because in a digitally driven world, there is no endpoint. The transition, it never stops. The tools are always evolving, the skills you need are always changing. This state of transition, it's permanent now. It's just a constant state of motion and, a little bit of uncertainty. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway for any leader. The goal isn't to just get through one big transformation and adapt to some new normal. The real goal is to build an organization that is continuously adaptive, one that can actually thrive because of all this constant change, not in spite of it. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to mull over. Is your organization built to just achieve one transformation? Or is it being built to be constantly adaptive? Is it building the culture, the systems, and that all-important mindset to handle whatever comes next?